procedure. Axelos has provided guidance on risk management, and they call it the MOR, or the Management of Risk Guidance for practitioner. If you like, you can do a certification in Management of Risk Foundation as well as practitioner. This methodology or guidance is also implemented within the Managing Successful Programs guidance from Axelos. Based on this, for projects in particular, the following procedure is indicated. There are 5 steps in the risk management procedure. It begins with identify, assess, plan, implement, and communicate happens throughout, not all the time. So once again, identify, assess, plan, implement, and communicate. And communicating is not the last one. It can happen anytime in this sequence. However, in the exam, you may have to remember this sequence, IAPIC. Now the minimum requirements of this theme. Every theme, as you know, some minimum requirements in order to be termed as a Prince2 project. There are other conditions for the project to be Prince2 compliant, like process objectives and purpose should be fulfilled. The project must be tailored, and lastly, all the 7 principles must be followed. The minimum requirements here are define the risk management approach, as we have gone through a while ago, for risk response planning and implementing related communications, for assessing impact of risks and risks on business justification. It is important in general that any kind of issue or risk or change should be assessed against business justification. Similarly, it goes for exceptions. These major events and things which are changing the course of the project need to be assessed with respect to the impact on the business justification or the business case. Roles and responsibilities should also be documented in the risk management approach. Apart from having this approach, identification, assessment, and management of risks throughout the project lifecycle should be done. Maintain a risk register, which is a record of identified project risks with their status and history. Use lessons for risk identification and management. Let us take a look at a sample risk register. This is a sample risk register with 2 entries or 2 rows. We actually see them in the form of columns. However, you may want to create a register in a row-wise format. For example, row 1 will have the details of the first risk like this. Second row would have details of the second risk. For the sake of presentation, it has been shown in a different format. So let's look at risk number 1 in the risk register. There will be an author, a date for it, description. In this case, the description is morale loss triggering resignation leading to activity delay. Probability, impact, P&I score, probability and impact, mixed score, monetary value, proximity, status of the risk, response strategy, what is the actual response plan, who is the owner of the response plan, and who are the people who will assist the owner for the response actions. They are known as actionees. So there will always be one owner who can also be the actionary, or sometimes the owner may appoint additional actionees to help him or her to take actions for the risks. The job of the owner is to monitor the risks and maybe in some cases also take the action if there are no other additional actionees. And Prince2 does not mandate that all these fields are populated. However, it is important that at least the description and ID, probability, impact, and the P&I score are there and need to be understood for the exam. Concepts like monetary value and P&I score in detail are not required to be understood for the exam. So those are the minimum requirements of the risk theme. There was one more in the last here, use lessons for risk identification and management. Continuing on the risk management, the first step is identifying risks. There are 2 steps within the identify risks step, or sub-steps as we can call them. Firstly, identify the risk context of the project. Which project objectives are at risk? For example, in a project, the timeline could be at risk, or the cost could be at risk, or both of them could be at risk. So there should be a general analysis or assessment about overall, depending on the complexity, what is at risk here. It may be difficult to assess unless the project management team has experience in similar projects. Based on them, that they may decide, because it is a similar complex project which was done a few years ago, this has also a very high risk or low risk. However, the second step is to identify individual risks in the project and record them in the risk register, in the format we just saw a while ago. And what should be recorded in the risk register for the risk description in particular? Three things: the risk cause, the risk event itself, meaning the risk itself, and the effect or impact of the risk. Risk cause is the situation or event which might trigger a risk. The risk event is the risk itself, meaning the uncertainty itself, or the threat or opportunity itself. Lastly, the risk effect, which is the impact of the project objectives if the risk occurs. So if we go back to the risk register and take a look at our sample risks, then we have, in the risk number 1, we have 3 parts there. Morale loss triggering. So this is the actual cause of the risk up to this point. It is the cause or the reason or the trigger for the risk. Secondly, the actual risk is the resignation of staff. This is known as the event, which is so this is the situation. Firstly, the trigger or the situation which raises a risk, which leads to the actual risk itself or the threat or opportunity, that is known as an event. So the resignation is an event. And lastly, we have the third portion, which is activity delay. This is the impact or the effect of the risk. This is how risk statements need to be documented. If you look at the other risk on the right side, it has a similar format. Inflation causing, so inflation is the reason, the trigger or the cause of the risk, which is the situation which causes the risk. The second portion is the risk itself or the uncertainty or the threat or opportunity. In this case, it is a threat again, material price increase. And lastly, the impact, which is leading to project budget impact, which is the impact or the effect. It is necessary to understand this syntax for the foundation exam and for the practitioner exam. Continuing. The second step after identification is assessment. Assessment has 2 sub-steps. Firstly, estimate the probability of occurrence of the risk, the likely impact if it occurs, and its proximity. How soon will it happen if no action is taken? For example, the resignation example. It might have a probability, meaning a chance of occurring. If there's a chance of it frequently occurring, then it has a high probability. If it is likely to occur less frequently, we could say probability is low. Impact, of course, we understand clearly. Proximity means how soon it will happen. So if there is no action taken today to control that risk, then how soon will it happen? So for example, the resignation might happen soon if no steps are taken, or the resignation may not happen soon even if no steps are taken. That's the meaning of, so there could be a close connection between proximity and probability. However, they mean 2 different things in a subtle way. Evaluate the risk response. What is the combined effect of all the risks? Meaning, what if risk number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of them happen? What would be the impact to the project? Or there could be also combinations of risks to be analyzed. That is known as evaluation. Therefore, it's important for the exam to remember these terms, particularly assess. Assess includes estimate and evaluate. Estimate is the estimating the characteristics. However, evaluate is for the combination of risks. Another term which is not required for the Prince2 exams is the summary risk profile. It is a summary of all risks showing by their importance based on a risk score. We will not have to go into this topic being out of syllabus. However, it is standard practice for organizations to maintain a table like this, where on the column we have the probability values, very low, low, and so on. On the impact, we have the similar scales for the impact, and every risk will be put in a certain cell. For example, risk number 1 from the risk register has a high impact and very high probability. Risk number 10, on the other hand, has low probability and low impact. And that's why we have in the risk register another entry, the P&I score. So the P&I score is also which is out of the syllabus of the exam. It combines the P and the I values, the probability and impact values, and cross multiplying them to get a number, which could be in the form of 0.1, for example, when we multiply 0.5 and 0.2 and round it off, or we may use a label like high, medium, or low. Sometimes coloring system is also used, red color, orange color, yellow color, and so on, to indicate different ranges of risk priorities. So generally the P&I score helps in prioritizing the risk. The scores which are higher may be marked as high priority. The scores which are medium may be marked as medium priority, and the low scores may be marked as low priority risks. That's the advantage of having a P&I score. Then comes the plan step. So identify followed by assess and then plan. This is the response planning for the risks. There are different types of responses depending on whether it's a threat or an opportunity. Let us take an example of an opportunity first. Anything which might happen which can create something good, which can create a positive impact to the project. For example, by doing something creatively, it may be possible to finish the project earlier, or it may be possible to save some money from the project budget. So those could be opportunities. So the management may decide to pursue those opportunities or may ignore those opportunities. So we've got the following actions possible or strategies possible. For the threats could be avoided or reduced by taking action before the risk occurs. Usually both of them, avoiding a risk and reduction or mitigation, mean the action need to be taken before a risk occurs. On the other hand, similarly for opportunities, exploit and enhance before the risk occurs. Each of them have a different meaning, and you'll see them shortly what they mean. On the other hand, both threats and opportunities may be transferred to a third party by paying them some service charges for it. This is generally done for insurance for damage to goods or injuries or damage to property of community, citizens, etc. The risk is transferred to an insurance company in return for a fee by the project team. Sharing the risk. If the risk is too high, if it's a too big negative risk, then the risk may be shared by two parties. Generally, one of them will be primary, one will be secondary owner. The same goes for the opportunity. If it's a big opportunity to increase the scope of the project or extension of a contract, then that could be shared by with another party who may be aware of how to deal with those aspects of the project. So therefore, this will also have a primary owner and a secondary owner when a risk is shared. Acceptance means no action is taken until the risk occurs. So in our example, until somebody has resigned, no action is taken, which is more like managing an issue rather than managing a risk. Prepare contingent plans we discussed this briefly earlier. The action is taken based on some warning signs. So as soon as a price limit is reached,